Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be doing 8.2. Again, just like the last one, it will have, we're dealing with exponents, but unlike last time, when we were dealing with products or multiplication, today we're going to be dealing with quotients, or the answer to a division problem. So, what we're going to be doing today is division. We'll do some multiplication, but mostly division. So if we look at number 1, we have 8 to the 10th power divided by 8 to the 4th power. Now how we're going to do this is we're going to write out, just like we did before, how many 8s we have. On the top we're going to have 10 8s, so I'll write 8 10 times. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 on the top, and on the bottom we have 4, so we have to write 8 4 times. Now when we multiplied, we added these exponents. So now when we divide, we're going to subtract them. So we're going to take one off of the top, which means we also have to take one off the bottom. Take one off the top, take one off the bottom. Take one off the top, take one off the bottom, and take one off the top and take one off the bottom. Now we don't have any more on the bottom, so we just got to count up how many 8s we have left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 8s. So what our answer would be then is 8 to the 6th power. So 6 8s means 8 to the 6th power. Our next one, we have -3 5 times on the top. So if we create our problem, we have -3 times -3 times -3 times -3 and times -3. So 5 -3's on top. On the bottom we have 3 -3's, so -3 times -3 times -3, just 3. So again, we're going to subtract them. We're going to take one off the top, then take one off the bottom, take one off the top, take one off the bottom, one on the top, one on the bottom. We're out of ones on the bottom, so what we're left with is 2 -3's. So our answer comes to -3 to the 2nd power, or -3 squared. For our next one, on the top we have a multiplication problem. So when we have a multiplication problem, we're going to add them together. So first we're going to take a look at this one. Here it says we have 4 5's. So I'm going to write out 4 5's. Now we have times 5 to the 8th power. What that means is we have 8 more 5's on the top. Because remember, we're adding when we're multiplying exponents. So I'm going to draw 8 more 5's. Well, let's make those a different color. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So on the top we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 5's. Down here on the bottom we have 7 5's. So we're going to write 5 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So just like any other division problem then, we are going to subtract them. So we're going to take them away, one from the top, one from the bottom, one from the top, one from the bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, and so on. So we took away 7 from the top, which means we have to take away 7 from the bottom. What we're left with then is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 to the 5th power. So our answer is 5 to the 5th power. So for our next problem, we have a fraction. We have 1 over x to the 4th. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another fraction with this problem. If we are trying to create a fraction out of a whole number, all we need to do is put a 1 underneath it. So now we have 1 over x to the 4th and x to the 6th over 1. So how this is going to be written then is we have a 1 on top, so we can write our 1, times x to the 6th on top, so we're going to write 6 x's, and on the bottom we have 4 x's times another 1. So first thing we can do is cross off our 1's, because those will cancel out. Then we're going to cross off our x's. On the bottom we have 4, so I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to take off 4 from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. What we're left with is 2 x's, so our answer then is x squared. 2 x's. On to the next page. For this first problem, inside of our parentheses we have negative 5y. Now this exponent outside of the parentheses tells us how many negative 5 over y's we have. So the exponent says we have 3. So I'm going to write it 3 times. So now all we gotta do is count up how many we have. So if we look at the top, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3 5s. So we have 5 to the 3rd. And on the bottom, we have 1, 2, 3 y's. Now, 2 negatives make a positive, but we have 1 more negative, so it's still a negative. So our answer is negative 5 to the 3rd over y to the 3rd. On this problem right next to it, we have negative 7 over x inside of our parentheses. This exponent tells us how many we have. So we have 2, so I'm going to write it out twice. So now all we got to do is count them up. We have 2 7's, so 7 squared on top. And we have 2 x's, so x squared on the bottom. Now we have 2 negatives. A negative times a negative is equal to a positive, so we can make these both positive, which would make our answer positive as well. We can simplify this even more because we know what 7 times 7 is, or 7 squared. 7 squared is 49 over x squared. So this is an okay answer. This right here is our best answer. So we can easily do 7 squared. Our next one, we have AB in our parentheses. So I'm going to write AB. And this exponent tells us how many we have. So we have 2, so I'm going to write another AB. Now we're just counting. We have two a's. So a squared over 2b's. So b squared. A squared over b squared. Here we have another fraction. So we need to create or make our other number into a fraction as well. We have 1 times 7 squared. So we have 1 times 7 times 7. We have 2 7s. Then on the bottom we have 7 times 7 times 7, because we have 3 7s here, times 1. What we're left with once we cancel out our 7s here, what we're left with then is 1 times 7 times 1. 7 times 1 is 7. So what we're left with is 1 over 7, or 1/7. So we're just writing what we have left. So our answer is 1/7. Down here in our parentheses we have xy. So we have xy in our parentheses. The exponent tells us how many we have. It says we have 3. I'm going to write it 3 times. So if we count these up, we have 3 x's, so x cubed, or x to the third, and we have 3 y's, so y cubed, or y to the third. Alright, so our last problem on this slide, we have 7 to the 4th times 7 to the 3rd. So what that means is we're going to write our first term, 7 to the 4th, so write 7 or 4 7s. Oh. Make that a little better. And we also have 3 more 7s, so we need to write 3 more 7s. So on the top and all together we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 7s. On the bottom it says we have 5. So write 7 5 times. We have 1 cancel, or 2 cancel, 3 cancel, 4, 5, and what we're left with is 2 7s. So our answer comes to 7 squared. Alright, our next problem gets a little bit trickier. What we have inside our parentheses, start by writing whatever you have inside your parentheses. So inside we have 4x squared over 5y. So this is what's inside our parentheses. How many of those we have is this exponent right here. So we have 3 of those. So we're going to write that 3 times. So 4x squared and 5 over 5y. And one more time, 4x squared over 5y. Now, when we are counting these up, we need to first see how many x's we have on top. So right here, it's saying we have 2 x's. So I'm just going to make 2 little x's up here to show us how many x's we have. This one, same thing. We have 2 x's, so I'm going to make 2 little x's. This is showing us how many x's we have again. And here, same thing. We have 2 little x's. That's how many x's we have here. So now all we got to do is count this up. We start with our 4. We have 4. How many 4's do we have? 3. So I'm going to write 4 to the third. Then if we go over to our x's, we're going to count up how many x's we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So x to the 6th. Then on the bottom, we have 1, 2, 3 5s. So we're going to write 5 to the 3rd, or 5 cubed. And finally, our y's, we have 1, 2, 3 y's. So y cubed, or y to the 3rd. So our answer is 4 cubed times x to the 6th over 5 cubed times y to the 3rd, or cubed, or y to the 3rd, or y cubed, same thing. For our next problem, inside our parentheses we have x squared over 4y. This exponent right here tells us how many of those we have. It says we have 2, so I'm just going to write it one more time. Now we have 2x squareds over 4y's. So our next problem, or our next step, is to figure out how many x's we have. Here it looks like we have 2 x's because it is a 2 exponent. So I'm going to make 2 little x's up on top to show that we have 2 x's. Same thing here, 2 x's. Now we got to count this up. How many x's do we have? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So x to the 4th over, how many 4's do we have? 2. So 4 squared. And we have 2 y's, so y squared. Now we can simplify this if we wanted to, because we know what 4 squared is. We know that 4 squared is 16. So we could write x to the 4th over 16 y squared. So this is our best answer. You can leave it like this, that's fine, but here is our best answer. Alright, our next problem. On the top, we have, or in our parentheses, we have 3x cubed over 2y. Now, this is saying that we have 2 of these, so I'm going to write this out twice. So 3x cubed over 2y. Now, if we wanted to, we could split up our x's. We don't have to write them out like a little x up here. If it makes it easier, we can just write x 3 times. So we can write 3x's, and here 3x's. Now what we also have then is 1 over x squared. So 1 over x squared. Now that's saying we have 2 x's, so we could write that as x. So now what we got to do is count up the top and the bottom. So on the top we have 3, or 2, 3's twice. So we have 3 squared. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 x's. X to the 6th. On the bottom we have 2 y's. Or 2 2's and 2 y's, so we have 2 squared and y squared. We also have 2 x's, so we have x squared. Now, we can't have the same variable on the top and the bottom, So what we need to do is figure out how to get rid of this x squared. Well, we know that x on the top is bigger, x to the 6th is bigger. If we subtracted these two x's, so if I cross these two out and 2 out up here, what we're left with then is 3 squared x to the 1, 2, 3, 4th power over 2 squared times y squared. So all I did here was subtracted 2 from 6. So I did 6 minus 2 and got x to the 4th. We can do these two problems. 3 squared is 9. So we can write 9x to the 4th. And we can do 2 squared. 2 times 2 is 4. So 9x to the 4th over 4y to the 2nd, or y squared. This is our final answer. Alright, so our last slide, we're going to be talking about zero exponents. So exponents, but our exponent is going to be 0. Now, if we take a look here, we have x to the 6th over x to the 6th. If we were going to divide these, what we would do is subtract their exponents. So 6 minus 6 would give us 0. So basically we're saying that we have x to the 0 power. Now, what we have here is the same number over the same number. If we have the same number over the same number, like say 6 over 6, what do we come up with? 6 divided by 6, 6 goes into 6 only once. So the answer to our problem here, since we have the same number, x to the 6th over x to the 6th, it's the same thing as 6 over 6, it's going to give us 1. Our answer is 1. Now here we have 4 to the 0 power. That's like saying we only have 1 4. Or we're saying we have 0 4s. But we need something in that place. So whenever you see a 0 exponent, this is just a rule that we're going to remember. Whenever you see a 0 exponent, we know that our answer is going to be 1. Anytime you have a 0 exponent, the answer is going to be 1. Even if it's m to the 0 power, it's still going to be 1. Now this problem over here, we have x squared times x to the 5th times 0. This 0 is going to be multiplied to both of these. 0 times 2 is x to the 0. 0 times 5 is x to the 0. Anytime we have something to the 0 power, it's going to be 1. So 1 times 1 times x to the 7th is what we have left. Now anything times 1 is the same thing as what we had before. So 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times x to the 7th is the same thing as x to the 7th. Last, we are going to find our missing exponent. So what we're looking for here is we have negative 8 to the 7th power. So we could write out negative 8 7 times. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We don't know how many negative 8s we have on the bottom, but we do know that it comes out to negative 8 3 times, or negative 8 to the 3rd. So what we need to do is take away our 3/8. So if we take away our 3/8, what we're left with is 1, 2, 3, 4 -8s. So we know on the bottom that we are going to come out with -8 to the 4. Here we have 1 on the top times something over x to the 5th, so 5x's, times 1 equals x to the 7th. This is like saying that we have 7 x's altogether. So if we have 5 here, 7 minus 5 we would have to have, oh, sorry, we're not going to subtract. We are already subtracting. So on the top, we need to come out with something that is 5 greater than 7. So all we're going to do is add up 5 to 7. 5 plus 7 is 12. So we know we have 12 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So then if we take away 5 x's from up here and 5 x's from down here, we're going to end up with x to the 7th. So we know that this x to the question mark should be x to the 12th. We're doing the opposite of subtracting when we divide, and we're going to add. So up here, we know we have some kind of 7s, but we do know that what we're going to add is 2 more 7s to whatever we have. So 7 times 7. We do know that we have 7 squared. Down here we have 4 7s. So 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. In total, we have 6 7s, or 7 to the 6th. So what we need to do is we need to add up how many 7s it's going to take to get us to 7 to the 6th. So we know that we can cross off 2 of our 7s. So now what we need to do is find something minus 2 7s will give us 7 to the 6th. So what minus 2 will give us 6? We know that 8 minus 2 will give us 6. So we're going to draw 8 7s. So then if we cross off 2 more, so we get rid of these on the bottom, we're left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what we got, 7 to the 6th power. So we know that our missing exponent is 7 to the 8th, because we put on 8 7s up here, so we could get rid of these down here and still get 6. So 7 to the 8th power.